Back from break, fellas. Was in Maine with the family. Last two vids I made were literally made at the same exact time on Friday, so I haven't been as attentive to the comments as I normally would have been, but that stops now. See, I'm back home now. So I got time. Good lord. I got time. Now I can play this game all night long, baby. As soon as I spot some tomfoolery in the comments section. Oh, actually, Zhongli is immune to ermines. Give me a source for that, nigga. Oh, we live. I'm going to be right in there. Anyway, to the actual bit itself. If you were to ask someone in one of the 7 nations what the status of their deity was, the answers you'd receive would, vary tremendously. In Mondstadt, the animal Archon Barbados, the god of breeze and hope, has been away from his nation for over 1,000 years. In Leeway, the god of gold Rex Lapis is dead. Failed a divine trial. Crazy, huh? Crazy how that works out. However, if you ask certain members of the public, such as the Adepti or high-ranking members of the Chising, then Rex Lapis's status upgrades from dead as fuck to retired. In Inazuma, the same Electro-Archon has been ruling since the founding of the nation, the Raiden Shogun. Literally, less than 5 people know the truth surrounding the position of the Electro-Archon, which is, there have in essence been 3 faces acting as the Electro-Archon. First was Makoto, then the puppet, and now A. In Sumeru, the truth is even more chalked, as they incorrectly believe Lesser Lord Kusanali to have been the one and only Dendro Archon from the beginning. However, they aren't the only ones that think that. The rest of the worlds, the other Archons, and even Lesser Lord Kusanali herself believe this, but this is wrong. The only person who knows the truth of what's really happened is the Traveler. There was another Dendro Archon before Nahida, Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, who has now been wiped from the world's memory bank Irminsul to save everyone. Next up is the Hydro Archon. I won't lie, I'm still a bit of a mystery what the official story is. I think the people just assumed Furina retired and that's it. I know at the very least they don't know the truth of the situation, which is only known by us, Nervalets, and Furina, and it's that the Hydro Archon and the position itself is no more. Worth pointing out, none of these Archons have their Gnosis with them anymore, as they're all currently being fed into the war machine that is the Tsaristas' plans. I think it's safe to assume that when it's all said and done, no Archon, including the Tsarista herself, will have a Gnosis remaining. I find it's hard to believe that whatever plot she and the Fatui are cooking up won't also require her own Cryo-Gnosis. This seems like an all-or-nothing type of deal. While her goal with the Gnosis is still a bit unclear to us, what's even more surprising is that the fact that the details of her plan remain even unclear to some of the other Archons. Nahida, the god of wisdom, personally reveals in her character stories that her understanding of a Gnosis is a bit lacking. Quote, "With one Gnosis still in her hands, Nahida could not help but hesitate. She barely knew more about the Gnosis than she knew the truth of this world. The Gnosis to her was but a core that gathers a mass of elemental power at her discretion. But if there is nothing more to a Gnosis, why was a god so eager to gather all of them together?" A investigated her Gnosis greatly, but once she realized she couldn't do anything with it and no longer had a use for it, handed it off to Miko. And it's here the issue presents itself. We know a Gnosis is a large boost in power for its handler, done so as to give that person the divine ability to defend their nation. Hell, part of the reason Zhongli said he held on to his Gnosis right up until the end of Lei Wei's little test was so he could use it to defeat Osial should the people fail.
That's right. Which is why I continued to safeguard the Gnosis until now.
So you mean that if the chaos ever reached the point of no return, you would simply appear and use your divine powers to bring Liyue back under control?
Of course, and it would have been all too easy for him too.
Now, this isn't to say Zhongli needs his Gnosis to beat Osial. Hey, we know for a fact he doesn't. He's beaten Osial before without his Gnosis, but clearly the Gnosis would have made doing so much easier. Now, given there is a massive war looming on the horizon, I'm curious how these other Archons, if they are still Archons, plan to deal with it. And make no mistake about it, the upcoming war will indeed affect everyone, even those who never wanted anything to do with it, nor know what's going on. We know A has pretty much fucking declared for the draft. I mean, whatever the hell that was. But the other Archons haven't said a word yet, so what do they plan to do? Well, Let's start out by picking up right where we left off with Zhongli, because he is the most interesting one to me. I believe of all the Archons, he's the most familiar with the truth of this world. Even if Irminsul may have altered his memories, he's long harped about the importance of us being a witness, and it's probably because he knows we can see the world for what it really is, and not how others want it to be.
There are many events of ages past, many secrets that lie hidden. They have been eroded by time, forgotten by the people, abandoned. But you are capable of finding them and bringing them into the light. Those who come to witness will witness. Those who are born to remember will remember.
Now with that said, it should be fairly obvious to Zhongli something big is coming, and his participation in it is a big question for a few different reasons. Zhongli revealed to us that part of the reason he stepped down from being Geo-Archon was in a bid to shed as much power as possible so that when he eventually succumbs to erosion, it won't mimic what happened with Ajdaha.
Even I cannot avoid it. But there is something I understand better than most. When the door opens, it is time to leave. The greater the power, the greater the danger erosion may bring about. The millennia may come and go, but even a stone may tire.
Furthermore, Zhongli has stated that following his abdication of the Geo-Archon position, Liyue's problems are now the people of Liyue's problems and not his.
I cannot guarantee that I won't be awoken a second time.
No matter. If that day comes to pass, Liyue must prepare itself to face you.
And how will Liyue fare without Rex Lapis?
Even without a god above, this remains a nation of men. I was once their god. I ought to be here to witness their rise and fall.
And given them boys just by the skin of they fucking teeth barely managed to defeat Osile, I'm finna keep it a buck with y'all. This city finna burn to the ground. I mean, dude, a war of this magnitude, you got the top 3 Archons and the Harbingers and the rest of the Harbingers trying to fight off the Sustainer, all 11 of them on her, and she's just like fucking killing them all, but then all of a sudden, things go quiet. You know, the birds fly away, and then they hear Gabriel's horns. They look up, and it's, oh my, from out of nowhere, it's the primordial one! A progenitor god! We harm the stars! I'm going to put an end to it. I don't see how Liyue could keep up with it. And now whether he'll step in if things get dicey is another matter. If he's a man of his word, hey, nations rise, nations falls, game's the game. But if he's feeling sentimental, I suppose the Geo-Archon will make a triumphant return to shelter his people once more, and in turn render the Liyue Archon quest mute. Now as for whether he'd fight on a different front, like at the gates of Celestia, you know, who's to say? Although, I won't lie, him trying to give up as much power as possible only to later try and fight the final boss seems a little foolhardy to me, but you know, what do I know? Maybe he'll be the coach of the team instead of actually fighting. Coach Carter. Now, fighting isn't the only thing Archons are capable of. It's just, I mean, dude, Morax was at one point known as the warrior god, and A was quite literally the sword of the Archons. So, of course, you'd imagine for them, the main thing they can contribute is their combats. The same probably holds true for the god of war and natlan, you know, given god of war. Now, as for Barbados and Boar, this is where things become interesting, because fighting isn't exactly their forte, despite Venti being one of the original Archons who ascended following the conclusion of the Archon War. From what we know, he never really, you know, he wasn't out here slaying gods left and right. He never even personally fought another god that we know of. Decarabian was, hey, that shit was a group project, dog. Whole fucking class pitched in. And as for Nahida, she wasn't in the Archon War, but when she was born, she was just like imprisoned by a group of humans from down the street, and by her own admission, she is too weak in a fight. Now, does this make them completely useless? No, absolutely not. So now, if you're asking, you know, what they can provide aside from fighting, yeah, let me tell you, Venti, look. We all know this nigga is very suspect. I can't tell you exactly why, But bro, he's hiding something. We can all feel it. That little conniving bastard. Look how easily he lied during lantern rites.
Oh, isn't this Genu?
Genu?
Yep. Now that I've taken a closer look, you're a fan of Genu's works, aren't you?
Yeah. He killed them niggas, bro. He killed them niggas in Connery. You could just, bro, that was way too smooth. Now, as for Nahida, as the guardian of Irminsul, she naturally has a lot of power in that regard. But let's keep in mind, her control over Irminsul is not absolute, as someone is currently hiding the end of the twins' journey from being seen in Irminsul by even herself. Hey, hands up, we find out who this is next week, but regardless, there's something to keep in mind regarding Nahida. It's that when Dottori threatened to take the Gnosis from her by force, the way he phrased it, it sounds like eventually he knows Nahida will outstrength him in the future. That was not good English. Will become stronger than even he in the future.
Lesser Lord Kusanali, you're an intelligent Archon. I'm sure you understand the disparity in our combat abilities at this time.
When that time comes, who knows, but I did think it was worth pointing out. Regardless of what the Archons can contribute, I suppose there is the question of whether they'd fight on the same side as the Tsarista, and I think it's highly likely, if for no other reason than because, I mean, Zhongli not only has a contract with her, but gave her his Gnosis, which he most certainly wouldn't do if he thought doing so would harm the common folk in some major way. And given, we haven't seen not one Archon try and fight to keep their ties with Celestia, I think it's a safe bet. I mean, look, I guess there's still the Pyro-Archon who could. Please. There, at the very least, it seems like everyone won't be fighting, on the side of Celestia. It's alright, though. So, Celestia doesn't need them. They'll learn. They'll learn soon enough. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Fucking frauds.